me today Amy Keenan and Charnel Lyons. Paramount Workplace specializes in spend management solutions that integrate with Acumatica as well as some other popular ERP solutions. So as a provider of travel and expense management software, we talk with businesses every day about the challenges that they face in controlling and processing employees' expenses. And so in keeping with our commitment to continuously improving our solutions, we commissioned an independent survey to learn more about the barriers that businesses are encountering around travel and expense management. We use this data ourselves to ensure that our solutions are solving these problems, but also we thought, hey, why don't we share it with the Acumatica community so you can see how your travel and expense management processes stack up with other businesses. So Amy's going to review the results of this survey with you, and then Charnel is going to give you a brief overview of how Paramount Workplace can solve a lot of the challenges identified in this research with our Acumatica-integrated mobile and web-based travel and expense management software. So with that, Amy.
Thank you so much, Darcy, and thank you for having me today, and thank you everyone for taking time out of your day to join us. Here is our agenda for the next hour or so, maybe less. We're going to talk about PayStream and the reports and findings, talk a little bit about who we are and what we do, and then go into a demo of our expense solutions. And of course, again, Q&A we'll save for the end unless it pertains to the topic that we're talking about. Now let's go into our findings. In regards to, I'm going to share some data and findings in regards to the report and survey that we did with PayStream. I'm going to go over some of the current processes, top reasons for adoption, as well as the benefits and the barriers. And this is just a snapshot on this slide of the survey demographics so that you can see who we surveyed. In regards to who is using an expense management solution, more than half of the respondents, 63%, said they do have something in place to manage their time and expense. But you'll also notice that 21% are using a combination of spreadsheets and scanned receipts, and 13% are using paper receipts that are mailed to the AP department. So this places a huge burden on employees. It can also lead to errors. It's very time consuming, and you're leaving your company at risk for non-compliance as well as fraudulent activity. And the top reasons for adoption, which are also the pain points or common triggers for automation. So manual data, lack of visibility, and high processing costs. In regards to the benefits for automating travel and expense, obviously there are quite a few, and most of the pain points can be alleviated with automation. So you're improving visibility, it's quicker reimbursement for employees, lower processing costs, improved employee satisfaction. So quicker reimbursement and improved employee satisfaction both lead to obviously boosted employee morale and productivity. And it can also directly affect the company's product delivery, competitive advantage, and business success because you're automating those time-consuming processes, alleviating the burden of these manual processes so that the company can focus on growing and focus on revenue-generating activities instead. And despite the benefits, the pain points, and the pain points, there are still many barriers to adopting and automating a solution. The biggest being that companies think their current processes are working fine. They also don't think that there is an ROI, and there's also a lack of understanding of the current available solutions. So that's why we're here today, to educate and inform customers and partners that there are solutions out there to automate these processes. So now I'm going to go into a little bit about who we are and what we do. Paramount Workplace was founded in 1995. Our headquarters are in the Metro Detroit area, but we also have offices around the country as well as in Canada. Our core solutions are requisition and procurement and expense, and we are both mobile and web-based. We do have a worldwide presence with over 750 customers and 131,000 users, so we are an international brand. Our industries are very horizontal. As you can see here, here's a snapshot of some of the customers that we have in these industries. You may know some of these customers who are currently using our solutions today. You can also check out our success stories on our website at paramountworkplace.com. In regards to our solution, it is seamless and out of the box and does integrate with Acumatica, as well as several other ERPs that you can see on the right. We do support multi-currency and multi-language. In regards to releases, they are usually annually. They can come from research and development, who continue to add features and functionality, or it could be wish lists and feedback, or both. Both play a huge role into our releases. We are 100% web-based. We do support multiple devices and browsers such as Chrome, Safari, Firefox, Internet Explorer, and Microsoft Edge. And we do provide deeper visibility with anytime, anywhere access and with ease of use. In regards to our company's differentiation, just want to point out a few points on this slide. We do have subject matter expertise as well as longevity in the spend management solution space, dedicated in-house development, QA, and customer service teams, and a keen focus on user experience and product quality. In regards to our competitive advantage, we do have the largest VAR channel. We're trusted by both VARs and customers in the space. We do have successful complex implementations, long-term seasoned employees, and such subject matter expertise in these areas. So before we actually get into the expense demo itself, I am going to go over some key functionality that we will be showing you and highlight those. So this is just a snapshot of what our expense solution can do. We do have mobile entry and approvals. As everyone knows, it's all about the mobile device these days and what we can do on our mobile device. So you're actually able to create those expenses on it. We do have advanced OCR recognition or optical character recognition on our mobile device. So once you scan that receipt, it's going to pull in all that information that you don't have to key in, such as the logo, the date, and the amount. We do also have powerful GL distributions, attendee tracking, robust questionnaire capabilities, and more, as you can see here. In regards to our mobile and tablet entry, you can capture those expenses in time online or offline. Again, those robust OCR capabilities. We also have Google Map integration and event entry assistant feature. Maybe it's going to go next slide or not. For some reason, it's not. In regards to the Sunshine Act, I just wanted to let everyone know we do comply with government reporting. We do have an integration with MPI and expense entry splitting. And it doesn't like me today, I apologize. This is the last slide on expense. So I just wanted to point out we do also offer email alerts and approvals. So someone can approve those expenses even when they're not in the office, if they're traveling or away from their desk. Also, if that person is, say, on vacation and they can't obviously approve the expenses, they can set up alternate people to be able to do that as well. And with that, I am now going to transfer the reins over to Charnel to show you our solution in action. So Charnel, feel free to take it away. Did we lose you, Charnel?
Nope, sorry, I was on mute and forgot to hi, everyone. My name is Charnel, as Amy and my other panelists have told you. I'm super excited to share our expense solution with you. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to first log in as Jackson. And I'm just going to give you a brief overview. There's a lot more functionality that I'm not going to show you today. So if you do want to see more, please reach out to us, let us know, and we'll do a personalized demo for you. We love doing that, do it all day long. So I'm going to first log in as Jackson. He is my entry user. He is going to create an expense sheet. So when I log in, here's his dashboard. You'll see a couple different dashboards throughout the presentation. Keep in mind, a lot of our software is customizable for what you need. So we've given Jackson access to certain things and revoked his access from certain things. And you guys will be able to choose for yourself, for your business, which works best for you. So this is Jackson's dashboard. He has a metrics module. He has announcements, so administration can put out alerts or messages to the workplace users. Also, we have his outstanding transactions. And then to the left, we have navigations to the different modules. So let's click into expense. Here we can see his outstanding transactions. So a really cool capability of Paramount Workplace software is that each line within your expense can be treated individually. So if you have one line that's open, you're going to see it in your outstanding transactions. So when I mean individual, so let's say for on our expense sheet, we want to route the different maybe expense types, or maybe you have a dollar threshold and you want it to route to different people or have a different path. We have the capability to do that. Unlimited levels of approval, unlimited approval paths. It's super robust. So if we were to click into here, we would see additional information. And we're going to come back to this in just a moment. But I just want to show you a few more things. We've given him access to enter an expense. So this would take us to our entry screen. He can look up an expense sheet from history. We could give him access. And I'll just open this up just so you can see what it looks like. We could give him access to see his expense sheets, maybe his department's expense sheets, or all of them in the system. And again, you guys get to choose that. It's customizable for those purposes. We also, you have the option to search by different criteria and break it up. Let's see, you could also, let's say you want to look at historical things that have already been processed, active, or both. We do have this feature when you're doing searches. So let's say every time I open this screen, you see how these were already here. This is going to lock this search criteria in place so that every time I come back to the screen, I'm going to be able to search in the way that I like to search. If we want to unlock it, fine, and you can change these too. You know, you don't have to keep it. Okay, so now, also we've given Jackson access to some reports, and again, he has his metrics module. So I'm going to, I already started this expense for Jackson so that we could see what it looks like. So I'm just going to open this up, and it's going to be a lot at first, but we're going to walk through this. So he has his expense sheet name. Let's say he went to a conference in Hawaii, and he came back and he needs to submit his expenses. So we have entered our expenses in a number of different ways. But I do want to show you our mobile app. So before we jump into this, I'm going to pull that up. So this is a fun feature. Let me go ahead and add an expense. I am logged in as Jackson. When I come here, I could type in the information that I needed to. I want to actually take a picture of my receipt. As Amy was saying, we have OCR. So let me go ahead and click on this receipt icon, and then with my phone, I would take a photo. But since I'm just using this mobile emulator, I'm going to drag my receipt on. And then again, you could automatically scan, but since I'm using my emulator, I have to click scan. It's using the optical character recognition, looking for the logo, looking for the date, looking for the amount. If it were, for whatever, it uses an algorithm, but for whatever reason, if it doesn't pull up the right information, you can click in here and it'll say, these are the other dates that we found. If it doesn't work, then you can always type over it. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and submit this. So I'm gonna press this little airplane and it's gonna send it over to our workplace for us. So when I come back in here, let me go ahead and refresh. And now I'm going to be able to select it from my select expenses. So when I click in here, I can see it's right here, it's target, and I'll add this to my expense sheet, and here it is. And I need to code it real quick. So let's put in retail. Okay. So now what we can do is we'll see that this came from our mobile device and it has the attachment. So we can see if we want to add an attachment to another line, we could do so. This attachment will follow this line through its approval path. If we wanted to, we could also put a header level attachment, and that'll attach to every line within this expense sheet. Let me walk through the different expenses that we have already on our screen. So our first one is Panera. We went to, and we can see that we paid for this on credit card by this credit card icon. And I brought that in from our select expenses. We do have, if your bank, your financial institution is OFX capable, then we can pull in your credit card expenses using the OFX. We also have the ability to import your credit card, American Express, Visa, MasterCard, and then you could import your credit card statement. So what we did here is we also took a picture of it with our phone. So we actually selected both of them because they would have both shown up with our credit card and mobile. We selected both of them at the same time and merged them. And when we did that, this comment appeared, this little icon, which means that this line has comments associated to it, and we can see those down here. That came in with the credit card. On the next line, while we were out in Hawaii, we took our clients to dinner, and so we have used the expense type entertainment. So for this expense type, we have what's called a questionnaire. You can make a questionnaire for any of the expense types that you would like to. We've made it required for entertainment because we want Jackson to give us more information about maybe who went, how many people attended. So if I click on this paper, it's going to pull up, we'll say how many people attended, 3, who attended, myself, Amy, and Darcy attended. Would you recommend this? Yes, I would. Save and close. I'm not going to be able to submit that until I fill out the information because I have it set to required. We also have an integration with Google Maps. So we took a trip to the airport. So when I selected the expense type mileage, we were able to then click on this location icon. When I click on it, it's going to pull up this screen and I can put in my different waypoints. You can have up to 25 different waypoints. And I was at the office and then I had to run home. Maybe I got my luggage, and so I marked that as personal, and then I went to the airport. So we can see the total distance subtracting my personal, and here we're going to get reimbursed for 31 miles. You could also do kilometers if that pertains to you. And we have it set to be 51 cents per mile reimbursement. So they're going to get reimbursed $16 for that trip. And you can create your own reimbursement rates for the expense type mileage. I did want to mention one other thing, and this is for my accounting people who are here with me today. There's one capability of our software that is super useful for you accounting department people out there, or accounts payable specifically. When we have, it's called a GL masking, and what it's going to do is it's going to look at, and we're going to set, you will set this up where it looks at your department and it looks at your expense type, and it's going to pick the GL account with you using an overlay. So if I go to our restaurant, I have the sales department, the expense type is restaurant, and then here it brought up my GL account. Then when I move to the next line, I have the expense type entertainment with my sales department, and now it brought up my GL account for that. So at this point, I think I've covered everything I wanted to. Oh, and I did want to mention one other thing. So the screen that you're seeing right here is the screen that I've created for Jackson as far as the fields that you see below. And when I say that, what I mean is that there are actually a number of other fields here. I do have GL accounts showing because I wanted to show you that GL overlay, but you could hide it because maybe your entry users don't need to see it. You could hide it. I have it read only because I don't want Jackson to be able to change it, but I maybe want him to be able to reference it. Any of the fields you see here can be set to hidden. You could make them all required. You could default in any information, or you could, I think I already said hide any of them, or show them if they're not showing. Okay, so I'm going to submit this now, and what's going to happen is an email is going to go out to our approver. So my approver, her name is Meredith. So let me log out as Jackson, and I'm going to log in.
Sorry,
Yeah.
we had a question real quick.
Sure.
What is the travel request field?
Sure. Let me come back in here.
Sorry, I didn't know if you were going to get to that.
Oh, not a problem. That's a great question. So we have the capability to create travel requests. What that means is, let's say before you go to this conference in Hawaii, you need to submit expenses that need to be pre-approved. So maybe your hotel, maybe a car rental. To create a travel request in your type, what you're going to do is just select travel request, and then you're going to fill it out just like you would your expense report. You're going to submit it. It's going to go through the approval process, and then once it's fully approved, you can select it from your select approved travel request. Oops, I have to change the stack. So here I have our car rental, a hotel, and I would be able to select these, and then I'm going to load it onto my screen. And then let's say we stayed for 2 nights, but the price ended up being $140 a night instead. And I'm going to need to save this. So when I save it, we'll be able to see here's the $260 that we were approved for. Here's the amount that it actually ended up costing us. So I hope that answers the question. And I'm going to get back on track. So then you'd be able to submit this, and then it's going to go through the approval process. So now once we've submitted our expense sheet, we can log in as Meredith. She is our approver. When I log in as Meredith, her screen's going to look a little bit different than Jackson's. And the main difference on her dashboard is she has this to-do section. And I'm actually going to pause right here, and I'm going to open up our mobile app so I can show you the approval on the mobile app. So let me go ahead and log in as Meredith. Okay, and when I log in as Meredith, there I can see those 4 lines that we had waiting for us. When I click in here, here's this conference in Hawaii that we are all going to. When I open in here, I could do a header level approval and approve every line within this expense sheet, or I could disapprove every line in this expense sheet. I could also click into it, see more information, and do a line level approval or disapproval. Whenever you disapprove something, you're going to want to put a note in there back to the original requester saying, you know, this is why this line wasn't approved, and then they can make the changes that they'd like to, or they would have to remove the line. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep this on hold. This button is so, let's say you got called into a meeting or whatever, you didn't have time to go through every single line, then you could put it on hold, send it over, and that way it's not hung up waiting on you. So before she logs onto her app, she would have gotten an email, and her email looks like this, saying, hey, you know what, you have something waiting for approval. So this is a fun feature. You could just click on this link. It's going to take you right into Workplace, and you can do your approval from Workplace. This really fun feature, I'm going to reply, and then I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to say, I can come into these brackets, type a Y, and now that means every single line within this expense sheet is approved. It's good to go. You send, and it's going to update Workplace. Or you could type an N for no, and then you're going to add your comments as to why it's not approved, and then again send it over, and then it's going to update Workplace. Okay, so then we could also do a line level approval. So this line, I'm going to say yes, this is good to go, type a Y, that's good to go, but this line, maybe I need more information. I'm going to type need more info, and then when I press send, what's going to happen is, again, this line will go through onto the next approver or whatever the next stage is for that approval pass for this line. And then the line that's been disapproved is, again, going to go back to the original requester, and then they can make whatever changes they need to make. Okay, so that's the email approval. Now we're going to come in to our web. Again, we have this to-do section. I'm going to go ahead and press here. We have our 4 lines waiting for us. I could load by employee, load by department. I'm going to load by all because we just have the one expense sheet. I could, now let's say Jackson had a number of different expense sheets. They would all be showing here. I could do approve all. It's going to approve all of the expense sheets that I have loaded on my screen. Again, I could come in here. I could do an expense sheet level approval. So now it's going to approve every line within this expense sheet. Or I could come down, and I just remembered I have mine turned off right now, and I need to turn it back on. But if I were to have it turned on, I would be able to do the line level approval. So then it would look just like this with these 4 icons. I would do approve, disapprove, or just hold it and then come back to it later. Again, if I disapprove something, I'm going to have to add a comment, and in order to do that, you click on that little guy. It pulls up this dialog. I'm going to put a note saying need more info or whatever it may be. And then that's going to send that message back to our original requester. So I'm going to approve it today for our demonstration and then process. So what happens if Meredith is out of the office? She's on vacation and she's the next approver. Well, she can turn on her alternate. So we'll go back to the dashboard. We're going to go into her user preferences, and well, it's already turned on. So what that means is that Derek is her alternate approver. He would have also gotten an email that says you have items waiting for your approval. So both of them got an email. Either one of them could approve at that point. And then it's not stuck in her inbox until she comes back from Hawaii or comes back from wherever she's at, you know, a week or 2 later. Also, if she knows she's going to be out of the office, she can come in here and schedule the time that she's going to be gone, which is exactly why our approvals are turned on, because I had scheduled to be gone during this time for Meredith. So you could just go in here and maybe she's gone next week too. And then we'd save it, and now she doesn't have to worry about turning her approval on. What if she forgot to turn her approvals on, or her alternate on? Well, administration can go in as well and turn that on for her. And then I also wanted to mention too, Meredith as an approver doesn't get to decide who her alternate is. You guys would do that as administration and select her alternate approver. So now what I want to show you is, let me log out. I'm going to log in as my Miranda. She works in accounts payable. She's going to come in here. Now her dashboard looks completely different because she has access to a lot more modules than both Jackson and Meredith. So she's going to open up her expense module, and then she's going to batch process. Now, a lot of our customers make their accounts payable the last approver on their items so that they see everything that's been fully approved. I could process by ID or employee, I could process by user, or I could process by department. When I click process, what's going to happen is all of the expense reports that are fully approved are going to be sent over to Acumatica. Now mine is not tied into Acumatica today, but what will happen is it'll send it over as a bill to Acumatica, and then accounts payable can go in from there. So that is the end of my demonstration. Are there any questions out there?
We did have one question, Charnel. Are you required to enter a comment to disapprove?
No, you are not required to. It's a system setting, so you can make them required to if you'd like to, or you can make it system-wide where there's not, you don't have to have a comment.
Okay, well, I am not seeing any other questions. We'll hang on the line for another minute or so and see if anyone else has anything, burning questions they want answered about travel and expense management for Acumatica.
Sure.
Someone did ask here, hold on, can we get a copy of the report? And yes, we will certainly provide the attendees with a copy of our research report.
And I just wanted to let the audience know that there is a poll up on the screen. If you could just take a second to answer this poll, that would be awesome.
I think, Adrian, this might be an old poll. So Paramount Workplace Travel and Expense Management would be the top choice.
I think I was just overreaching maybe with an umbrella poll.
Oh, okay. Oh, any of the above, AP automation, procurement, spend management in general.
That's your core competency.
Okay, so since we're waiting for more questions, I will mention one other fun feature that a lot of our customers appreciate. So let's say, I'm going to log back in as Jackson. Let's say Jackson, he stays in the office and he's going to be entering expenses, filling out expense reports, or maybe somebody else who is out, maybe a CEO or somebody else who's out about traveling. They're snapping their receipts on their phone. They're submitting them on their phone, and then.
I'm sorry, Charlotte, just 1 second. Adrian, I'm gonna close the poll so we can see her screen. Okay.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, let me go ahead and do that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I got it.
I didn't realize that's how that works. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes, I'm sorry. Please proceed.
Okay, yeah, no problem at all. So when I go into expense entry, Jackson's sitting here waiting for, he has Christina is out and about, and she is entering expenses. When he comes to his expense entry screen, he's going to come over to his employee. There's a Zoom magnifying glass. When he clicks on it, it's going to pull up this list. These are the people that he can submit expenses for. We've given him access to submit on behalf of Christina. So when he clicks Christina's name, her expenses would then appear. When he submits it, it's submitting it on behalf of Christina, so it would follow the approval tabs that are set up for her. Also, I forgot to mention what these little zooms are. So when you click on a magnifying glass, what that means is that there's a list of information hidden behind this field. So you have to select something that is within those parameters. So for Jackson, we've given him access to these different departments. We could restrict this access, but these are where we want him to be able to submit on behalf of. These are the expense types he's allowed to select from. Also, these are the payment methods that he's allowed to select from. And I think that summarizes everything now.
We do have another question. The question is, how does this integrate with Acumatica? Does all of this info write to existing tables?
Let me pull up an instance of Acumatica, and I will.
The same table. So Paramount actually has its own tables and workplace SQL tables. The end result is we are going to send over the invoice to Acumatica, which Charnel can show here in 1 second. So it's going to go over and create that bill, that payment, and then that can actually be posted. Now, obviously, if it's a company credit card, the payment method is going to be, you know, let's say American Express. So instead of going over to reimburse the employee, it's going to go over to actually cut that payment to American Express.
And it's just taking a little bit to load here. So I haven't submitted any expenses, but I can, well, let's see. These are all from our requisition, it looks like. Is it the same? Okay. So here's an expense. I can open up this one. This is from 2017. So there you go. You can see the different types of information that it pulls over. Janet Martin is actually here with me too. So if Janet, you want to expand on that?
No, so it is going to send over the line details. So dependent on, as far as the synchronization to Acumatica, we're going to bring in the vendors and the GL accounts and all of that static data that could be used on an expense sheet. And then therefore, when we send it over, again, each line may have its own Acumatica GL account that it's being posted to. So it does go over, if you slide up to the top, it does go over as open. And then obviously it can be posted, and then that vendor, that employee can be reimbursed. Do you have any questions specific to the bill in Acumatica?
Well, there was a follow-up comment. Great. If I hear you correctly, all data can be accessed from Acumatica reporting, in addition to Workplace having its own reports.
Correct.
That was a lot. I think the answer is that the heavy detail behind all the approvals and everything else is only going to be stored in Paramount, but we're going to send over the information necessary to pay the expenses to Acumatica. Would that be an accurate statement?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, I got to thank you. So that means I think that we addressed that question. So I'm not seeing any more questions.
I've also pulled up on my screen. So this is the information that's going to sync over from Acumatica. You would set up using the synchronizer. You'd set it up how often, maybe once a day, once a week. Completely up to you how often you want to sync your data. Let's say, for example, we know we added another vendor, and maybe that's an employee and you need to pay them. Then what I can do is force update this, synchronize that, and it's going to synchronize it, you know, on the fly, so that you're always synced.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we got another question. Okay. What happens when you have one submitted expense report where there are transactions that are reimbursable and others that are not reimbursable, i.e. company paid credit card transactions? So for
the credit card transactions, the way that would work is let me just back out here for a second. When you set up your different vendors, and you can, let me come in here. So I'm going to select the payment method, American Express corporate credit card. When this sends over to Acumatica, it's going to know to pay American Express.
If you click on your payment method, the hyperlink, so for this payment method, you can actually attach a vendor. Or if you don't want to send it over to the ERP, then basically you can leave it unchecked like we have. So only the reimbursable amount, so what needs to be paid to that employee, as long as the line is marked, in this case, cash, it could be even called reimbursed, whatever you name it, as long as the payment method that they're selecting is set up to send over to the ERP, that's what's going to go over and reimburse them.
Okay, very good. So it sounds like if there are some expenses on an expense report that were on the corporate credit card, we're not going to pay the employee back, then those would get with the payable to whatever you designated in here, but the others would get payable to the employee, correct?
That's correct.
Awesome. All right, I don't see any other questions. Thank you all so much for your questions. Those were very good questions. We appreciate your interaction with us on those. And certainly we will be sending out a follow-up email to everyone who attended with our contact information if you'd like to learn more. So with that, I want to thank everyone for your time today. And I don't know, Adrienne, if you want to have anything else, any closing comments?
We just hope to see you on a future webinar, everybody. Thank you so much for your support with ERP VAR and attending these webinars. We really do appreciate it. And there are more to come. So I will be sending the recording and the contact information shortly. And let us know if you have any questions. Thank you so much, Darcy, Amy, Charnel. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Bye.
All right, you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.